Have you ever felt like the world is against you? Like every step forward is met with 10 steps back? If so, I want to share a story with you. It's about a man who faced unimaginable odds, a merchant whose journey was anything but a straight line to success. This isn't just a tale from a faraway land, it's a mirror to our own struggles, our own battles, and our own hidden strength. Once, in a time of bustling markets and long journeys, there was a merchant. Let's call him Elias. Elias wasn't born into riches. He built his business from the ground up with his own two hands. His dream was simple, to provide for his family and create a legacy. He sourced the finest silks, the most aromatic spices, and beautifully crafted pottery, packing them carefully onto his caravan. His destination? Distant cities, places where his goods were rare and valuable. His journeys were never easy. The path was a beast of its own. Sometimes, violent storms would turn the roads into rivers of mud, forcing him to wait for days, his profits dwindling with each sunrise. Other times, the winding, unmarked trails would deceive him, and he'd find himself lost in unfamiliar territory, his heart pounding with the fear of the unknown. But Elias was resilient. He learned to read the clouds, to navigate by the stars, and to find patience in delay. He saw each obstacle not as a dead end, but as a lesson from a very strict teacher. One fateful year, he embarked on his most ambitious journey yet. His caravan was laden with the most valuable goods he had ever carried. He had invested everything he owned into this single trip. The potential profit was staggering. It would secure his family's future for generations. The first few weeks were smooth. The sun was kind, the roads were clear, and his spirits were high. He dreamed of the look on his children's faces when he returned, laden with gifts and stories. But fate, as it often does, had a cruel twist in store. As his caravan traversed a desolate mountain pass, they were ambushed. Bandits descended from the rocks like shadows, swift and ruthless. In a chaotic blur of shouting and steel, everything was taken. His silks, his spices, his pottery, all gone. His guards were overwhelmed, and his dreams were shattered. The bandits left him with nothing but the clothes on his back and the dust of the road. There he stood, alone, in the middle of nowhere. The silence that followed the attack was deafening. He was left with an impossible choice: give up and perish, or find the will to keep going. He looked at his empty hands, the hands that had built everything, and felt a despair so deep it threatened to swallow him whole. He began to walk. He walked through barren deserts, the sun beating down on him, his throat parched, his stomach aching with hunger. Days blurred into nights. Hope became a distant memory. He felt completely and utterly broken. He was a merchant with nothing to sell, a traveler with no destination. He was just a man, stripped of everything he had ever worked for. As he trudged through the sand, each step and monumental effort, he thought about his family. He thought about the promises he had made. And it was in that moment of absolute hopelessness that a tiny ember of defiance began to glow within him. He wasn't just his goods. He wasn't just his wealth. He was Elias, and Elias was a survivor. He eventually stumbled into a small village, a mere shadow of his former self. The villagers, seeing his plight, showed him kindness. They gave him water, a piece of bread, and a place to rest. Their simple generosity was a balm to his wounded spirit. He didn't stay long. He knew he couldn't rely on charity forever. He had to rebuild. He started small, incredibly small. He did odd jobs, manual labor, anything to earn a single coin. He chopped wood, carried water, and mended fences. It was humbling, grueling work, a world away from the life of a respected merchant. But with every coin he earned, he wasn't just buying food. He was buying back his self-respect. He was fueling that small ember of defiance until it grew into a steady flame. Slowly, painstakingly, he saved. It took months, but eventually he had enough to buy a single small crate of cheap trinkets. It was nothing compared to his previous caravans, but it was a start. It was everything. He traveled to a nearby town and sold the trinkets, making a tiny profit. He reinvested it all, buying a slightly larger crate. And so it began again. Step by step, coin by coin, trade by trade. He was back in the game. His new journeys were different. He was more cautious, more observant. The robbery had taught him a brutal lesson about risk. The long walk through the desert had taught him the value of a single drop of water, a single piece of bread. The kindness of the villagers had taught him the power of compassion. Every hardship he had endured was now a tool in his arsenal. The storms had taught him patience. Getting lost had taught him resourcefulness. The robbery had taught him humility. Hunger had taught him gratitude. He was no longer just a merchant chasing profit. He was a man forged in the fires of adversity. He learned to see opportunity where others saw only despair. He built new relationships, this time founded on trust and mutual respect, not just transactions. Years passed. Elias's business grew, bigger and more prosperous than it had ever been before. He once again commanded large caravans, but he managed them with a wisdom he hadn't possessed before. He became one of the wealthiest and most respected merchants in the land. His name was synonymous with integrity and resilience, but he never grew arrogant. He never forgot the feel of the desert sun on his back or the gnawing pain of an empty stomach. He never forgot the bandits in the pass or the simple kindness of strangers. When young, ambitious merchants came to him for advice, they expected to hear secrets of trade routes and profit margins. Instead, Elias would share his story. He would tell them that the greatest treasure he ever found was not in a distant city, and it wasn't gold or jewels. It was discovered in the depths of his own despair, on a dusty road with empty hands. The greatest treasure, he would say, was the unshakable strength to keep fighting when all seems lost. It was the resilience of the human spirit. It's the profound truth that our failures and hardships are not the end of our story. They are the chapters that give it meaning. They are what transform us, what teach us, and what ultimately reveal our true worth. This story of Elias reminds us that no matter how many times we get knocked down, no matter what we lose, the core of who we are remains. Our capacity to get back up, to learn, to rebuild, is our most valuable asset. The journey is long, and it's filled with storms and setbacks, but the strength you build along the way is a treasure no one can ever take from you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to join our community. I'd love to hear about a time you found strength in a difficult situation, so please share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay strong and keep fighting.